Hello, today on Grow How we're continuing our series on landscape for property managers. And today we're going to be talking about tree damage. Hey, this is Alex. If you're interested in landscapes, if you're interested in growing things, if you're interested in making your property presentable for others, this is the station where you're going to get all that. You're going to get all that on the station and more. And I can teach you about the things that matter. And today, it's about trees. In the last week on Facebook, I saw a couple of different posts. The first one was a property manager, and she was talking about this tree that Mother Nature had taken down. And I looked at that, and my response was no, this was not Mother Nature, this was a human failure. She didn't like that very much. She wasn't rude, but she said, oh no, this was definitely nature, and gave me something or other, I forget what it was, to verify that. The problem is, as a trained plant person, as a trained tree person, I could see the tree behind the one that was broken, and I could see the problems that tree had. They were both planted around the same time. They were both the same variety. This was not in my area of the country, so I'm not 100% sure that my identification is right on it. But the way the tree behind it had not really been fully maintained, I can tell that tree is going to break. And so it wasn't really hard to figure out that the tree that did break also was going to break because it wasn't maintained. Now, she did actually the right thing in a lot of ways because she didn't know this beforehand, but in her determination to say that it was an act of nature, she won't have any insurance problems. I mean, no insurance guy is going to look at her Facebook post and say, oh, well, she knew it was going to crack. But the second one, this was actually on a blog, but this lady was concerned about some limbs hanging over her house, some other trees, asked an arborist with lots of experience to come in, and he told her all the work that needed to be done, gave her a price, and she was just outraged at the price. And then she proceeded to make fun of this arborist who had given her a free bid, a free estimate on what it was going to take, because these trees obviously weren't as bad as he said. And then she showed a picture of the tree. Now, again, it's a picture. I don't get to see everything. I can tell you right now, even though I know I didn't see everything, that tree was a sick tree. It didn't have disease, but its structure had formed in such a way that it's very likely to break. And it was hanging over her house. Now, I understand she doesn't want to spend a huge amount of money because trees cost a lot of money. In this case, he said that this tree would take over $3,000 to remove. That's a lot of money. I get that. Question is, I think she probably should have been asking is, how much is that tree going to cost if it falls on my house? What's the likelihood that it's going to fall on my house instead of the other direction? Can we do something to make the house safer and then budget in taking the tree down later? There's a lot of questions she could have asked, but now fortunately she did not mention the name of the arborist on this or his company, but for her it was more important to make fun of him saying the trees were a danger and getting back at him for his high prices than in resolving the issue with her tree. She could have had another company come out. Maybe they'd give her a deal. A lot of guys are decent at taking a tree down safely, lousy at pruning it, but they can take it down safely and they'll charge less. But she didn't do that. Instead, she got on, made fun of this arborist. Now, when that tree does fall, and it might be 5 years, might be 10 years, might be 20 years, might be 2 months. And what if an insurance adjuster just stumbles on her blog while he's checking her out to make sure it's not fraud and finds out, oh, she's been told that it's a hazard tree. Yeah, basically, she just lost her insurance money. I believe very much in being honest in my dealings and in what I believe. And so I like the honesty. And if you've got a sick tree, it's good to be honest with it. But honesty doesn't involve making fun of somebody because, well, they're right. I mean, I think any arborist that's honest would have gone and said, hey, this is a danger. The best you can do is give them some options to try and help them get it down safely if they're not willing to spend the money that needs to be spent on it. But as a property manager, as a facilities manager, it's really important to prevent that damage from happening. Now, the first tree did take out part of a brick wall. It wasn't a structure, it was a fence. Not a big deal that way. It's going to cost some money. To haul the tree off the property is going to cost money too, plus the repairs. Probably would have been cheaper to have taken care of the tree all along. And we're going to talk about some more about tree care later on. But today's episode is to look at, this picture of what's going on with their trees and to realize, guys, tree breakage is predictable. About 15 years ago, I was down in Georgia working a job, got a job at a city, and I took a week or two, walked through all the city property, and I marked every hazard tree. And we got the remnants of a hurricane, I forget which one it was, and it smashed through there, and everyone that could get a hold of a chainsaw in the city was out there sawing down the damage. Every tree we had damaged was one I marked. Not every tree I marked came down in that storm, but every tree that came down had been marked. Trees are very predictable that way. Sometimes there's an unpredictable one. But if you get somebody that has a skill, yeah, you can predict it. You can save yourself the property damage, and you can save yourself the cost and the hassle with insurance and the insurance rates and all this other stuff that goes with it. It's just easier. Be proactive. Take care of it beforehand. So think about that. Again, comments below. Feel free, ask me. If you've enjoyed the video, you can subscribe up here on the right hand side. Make sure you hit the bell so you'll get notifications. This is going to be an ongoing series, a fairly long one, because there's a lot the property manager should be talking about and discussing and thinking about it when it comes to landscape. And if you click over here, you'll have one of my other videos. A lot of these actually are very applicable to landscape management as well, because really the difference between managing a home landscape and managing a professional landscape is usually scale. Catch you later. Manana.